Hello and welcome to another episode. This week I'm going to show you how simplifying your composition can massively improve your photography. So this week was going to be all around visiting the industrial coastline of Suffolk, and I'd gone to Langard Point. I'd got up at 4:30 in the morning, driven there, and I was taking photographs across to the Felixstowe port, and you know, in my mind, getting some really sort of powerful dawn images of the port at work. But when I got back, what I thought was some powerful compositions, I wasn't happy with the photos at all, and so I thought I would use this video to show you why I wasn't happy with my photo, and what you can do to help you get simpler and better images. If I had have run that video this week, it would have looked a little bit like this. So there's the photo, and you know, I'm sure you can see what's wrong with it. And what I thought I was doing was, I had this beautiful scene in the background, and I was framing it with the woodwork, and actually all I was doing was piling a bunch of distraction right in the way of what we were supposed to be looking at. And I didn't follow my own mantra. Essentially, I didn't slow down and think about what didn't need to be in the photo, and the reason I didn't do that was because actually I'd got up at 4:30. I should have got up at 4. I should have given myself time, and if I'd have given myself time, I'd have been able to see past what was immediately in front of me, and thought about what I was trying to achieve. I've wasted an opportunity. I got up at 4:30. And I shouldn't have bothered, really. Either get up earlier and give myself more time, or don't bother. So what we're going to do now is just jump to the computer, and I'm going to show you another couple of images, and I'll show you how I've essentially made the same mistake, but in those images I've been able to crop in and still create a pleasing image. But let's just quickly jump to the computer and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we're now at the computer, and I'm going to show you a couple more examples of what I'm talking about. So this first one's very simple, and it's pretty obvious what my subject is. It's this object here, and it's got, for me, it's got intrigue. So what is this object here? What's this? Is it a path to it? And it's got enough interest that I don't think it needs anything else in the photo. So what I did was I gave it a long exposure, smoothed out the water here. So this is actually a lighthouse in Dovercourt, one of my lighthouse series. I believe this is a track that leads to it, and all I needed really was to give it space, and give it a background that was not distracting, but beautiful. And this marbling in here, I think, is absolutely beautiful, and doesn't need anything else at all. However, when I was there, I was perhaps trying too hard, and this is my original of that image. So as you can see, I've cropped in a long way here, and when I was there, I was trying to create leading lines here with these wooden structure. I was giving a bit of foreground, but it just doesn't need it. And again, this was a sunset image, so racing a little bit against time, not quite as critical as sunrise, but just didn't give myself enough time to think about what I wanted to convey with this image. And what I wanted to convey with this image, if I go back to my final crop, is a sentinel in the sea, and really nothing else in there in this image to distract from that. So let's look at another one. This one was really sort of an accident of a shot anyway. I was at sunrise looking over a quay, and I took this shot, which you know, I'm very, very happy with, and it has the elements I'm talking about in terms of I've really simplified my image. I have two things in here: the boat, the sun. The reflection in here is really nice, and very nice backdrop to set it against, but very, very simple. But that's not, you know, what I'm talking about really here. If I go back to this, what I realised, and I'd been standing there for, you know, an hour or so with the sun coming up, was I had this boat next to me, and if I look at the original crop, this is what I was kind of stood next to, and you know, at the time I really just thought, well, I'll take a picture of this boat, and I don't really know what I'm going to do with it, but it's kind of interesting. You know, this picture on its own, it doesn't really do anything. It's confused. What is my subject? And you know, if I go back to my final crop, I crop in, and actually now it's much more interesting because we don't really know what we're looking at, and we're looking about, and we're looking, you know, these rusting rings here, the seaweed and stuff here, the windows. Can we see anything in through the windows? And it's got plenty of interest, texture, colour, beauty. And if I show you one more, so this is one I'd say I got right. This is Burnham-on-Sea Lighthouse, which, you know, hundreds of people photographed this, and you know, here I got it right because I'd been here before. I knew what I was after before I'd got there, and I'd also on this day got there a good hour and a half, 2 hours before sunset. So this is a sunset picture. I mean, you know, again, what I wanted to portray with this image was, you know, the lone sentinel, and I didn't want any of distraction in the background. And when I'd been there on a dawn shoot, I photographed it from the other direction, and we've got Burnham-on-Sea in the background. Here I've removed all of distraction, so I've got the, you know, the clouds, the beautiful clouds with just that little hint of red in them, you know, and I've got perhaps a little track here leading to the lighthouse. You know, it just sort of, again, just gives it a little bit of narrative in terms of, you know, was there someone going to the lighthouse or coming away from the lighthouse? And, you know, and even again, for the uninitiated, what is this structure all about? You know, this one worked, and it worked because I gave myself plenty of time, and I understood, you know, what I wanted to get out of it whilst I was there, and I worked on it. You know, this was one of dozens of shots I took on the evening, but I really worked on it and gave myself time, and I came away with something that I'm happy with. And also, you know, I've not had to crop in, and I've not wasted pixels, so this could be, you know, blown up to, you know, whatever size I want, really. You know, I guess the moral of that story is you need to give yourself time on locations. You need to walk around and look at your subject from, you know, multiple angles and work that composition. But what you're doing is thinking, what can I take out of my composition to tell the story that I'm after? You know, not how much can I get into my composition, because very often, you know, unless you're lucky or you're very, very skilled, you know, those compositions are very hard to get right. I hope that's been useful to you, and if you've liked this, then please give me a like, and I would very much appreciate subscriptions, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.